Welcome back, everybody. It's been a long year. We're back in the studio and we're fishing with Will. I'm here to talk to you guys about the equipment that I'm using and where we're fishing, and I'm going to show you guys the depths where the fish are at. So it's going to be an exciting season. You have to stay tuned for my next episode when I'm actually going to be showing you the fish that are in there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the equipment. I'll show you the hooks, and the size of the hooks that I've been catching my bass on already. They're really in the depth. So there's the size like medium action hook. Close that up, and then we'll get to these reels because these are what's most important for your success in Lake Orion right now. I got the medium action rod here. Turn it over and. Don't ever get the plastic reels. They don't last. I like using my steel reels because they take a beating, especially when you're catching that monster bass. These bass are huge in the lake. Now, if you got the kids, I've actually had a couple kids already. I like to use the old-fashioned, the old 202. The medium action with the bobber if you want to catch those big bluegill, which they're coming into. But everything I've been using has been working, so it's been really fun. And then now I want to show you guys the map of Lake Orion where I've been fishing so everybody can get clued in on what's going on. We'll go here to Greens Park. And Greens Park has been pretty good for me. I'm fishing, if you could see over here where the little, front of the side where the marina is, that's a good area. That's the channel. I like to call it the hotspot channel. And then when I go over here to where the police boat and everything is, there's a little open spot by the police boat. There's been I've been fishing anywhere from 8 to 12 feet of water. And like I said, that closed face reel, you don't even need a bobber. I just take a green crawler, which I have my green crawlers here. I'll just show you the box. These worms work wonders if you're going to catch a monster bass. Yesterday I caught a 24-inch, 8-pound largemouth on one of these worms, and they work wonders. They'll catch anything that swims, and they'll do wonders for your monster bass. But as I said, anywhere on this map, I mean, you could probably fish from Greens Park, probably from anywhere off these points. My major success for these bass have been, like I said, 8 to 12 feet of water. So you figure if you can go on a dock, you can get access to any dock, and you can look down to the front of the dock. You can look down and see the vegetation. If you see vegetation and weeds, you're in a good spot because that's where they're hiding right now. And they're in pre-spawn right now. So you can't legally keep them, but you can target them, and they're fun to catch. Like I said, it's been amazing, even with the rain we've had, that the bass are actually coming up now. We're like probably 2 weeks behind because of all the drought or the rain we've had, but it's starting to warm up and the temperatures have been cold, so the fish are they're starting to filter in. But like I said, you could anywhere on this map, if you can see the map really good. You could go even Pelton's Point. I've noticed when I went down by where they have those where the public docks are, and you can go 5 to 8 feet of water, and the bass and the bluegill are piled in there right now. So anywhere in this main section that you have that you have the ring in, they're actually really good. And I don't know, 'cause I'm not even using a weight when I'm casting my line. I'm just using a medium-sized hook, which I showed you, and I'm using 10 to 12 pound test line. I wouldn't go any smaller because because a lot of times too that you could be reeling a bait and you can even get a giant pike. I mean the pike are in there too. They're starting to filter in. But it's all been in that park. So, and like I said, this right now is the best time to get the kids out there too, because then, with school getting out soon, they're going to want to get into this. And I am going to be doing a fishing tournament in June for the kids. So I'm hoping that's really going to be a big hit. It was last year. I had 15 kids. Like I said, if you come down to Greens Park, more likely you're probably going to see me down there. So, and you can, if you need to ask, just ask me what I'm doing or using. And a lot of times I'll share information. I'm not like those guys that are doing fishing shows, and I'm not going to tell you everything because I'm not like that. I want people to catch fish. I mean, there's enough fish in here for everybody. I want, and this is what I'm saying. Everything I'm showing you is what's working. And if it's working for me, I want it to work for you. I want the same thing. I want to see people catch fish. It's not, like I said, I could teach a 6-year-old to do this, and the 6-year-old would have fun doing this. So, but as you see, like I've said on the graphics here, any spot in this lake works. I mean, you could be in a boat. You could probably be in a boat and cast right towards that 8 to 12 foot of water, and you're going to have success on whatever you're using. I've seen a few guys down using crankbaits, and they don't do as good because you got to remember, temperature is everything to a fish. And we're already 2 weeks behind schedule because the bass are just now coming up, and they're not even ready to spawn yet. I mean, I caught a 24 8-pound inch yesterday, and she was still loaded, like she wasn't even ready to spawn. She was just starting to do her migration from the deep to the shallow. So if all the information I'm sharing with you will hopefully help your success rate to catch catch a monster, because like I said, I could teach a 6-year-old to do this, and they would listen. I mean, I have a young boy that's down there, comes down almost every other day from school, and that's what he wants to do. He's like, "Will, I see you catching fish. I want to fish with you." And I'm like, "All right." So I set him up a rod, and he's already caught 3 fish already that were 17, 16, 15, and it's because he listened to what I had to tell him. Like I said, if I could teach a 6-year-old to do this, an 8-year-old to do this, anybody could do it. Not just me. And that's the whole point of why I do my shows, is because I want people to see that there's much more to Lake Orion than tubing and using a speedboat to tear up the water. Lake Orion, to me, is like one of the best. I call it one of my best bass lakes I've ever fished in Michigan, period. And I was raised in Houghton Lake, Michigan, where it was walleye. So it just depends on what you want to use and what you want to do with your time. But my time, I always like to go out and I want to educate people too about Greens Park and about what Lake Orion has to offer people, because a lot of people they'll go by it on 24 and be like, "Whoa, that's a big lake. I wonder what they do there." And then they have Dragon on the Lake every year, which is awesome. So it's getting the lake exposure, but people don't realize it's not just for that. To me, it's much more. It's a lake to where I can adapt to. I could go out in my little rowboat and go out there and do circles and find a spot where I'm going to catch the trophy of my life. I've already done it. I mean, when I first started this show, they had a picture of me holding a 26-inch bass. I've won tournaments on this lake. I know everything, all the depths. I know all the spots. And so I always tell people, if you got questions, if you see me on the water, hey, ask me. I'll be glad to show you and tell you everything there is to know about what Lake Orion has to offer for fishing. I've even gone to say that there's Greens Park. I've heard Rob Kavanaugh and other people and say, oh, Greens Park is a jewel. It is a jewel. It's a great jewel to use for fishing. It's a great jewel for the kids. It's a family park. I've caught my biggest fish off of this park, in this park. And I'm a big believer in that you fish close to home. You don't always have to go to you don't have to leave miles and miles to go catch a giant fish. You do it at home. You make home home. And everybody always asks, well, where's your favorite place to catch fish? I'm like, well, Greens Park, Lake Orion, home. Home is home. I'm not gonna go somewhere else where I'm not. Even though I can adapt to different lakes and I know I can talk to people. But when everybody asks me, Will, where are you catching your fish? I'm gonna afraid to tell you. You go to Lake Orion, you go to Greens Park. Even if it costs you $1 to get into fish or for a pass for the year, it's worth every penny you spend on it. It's a family park. I've fished there probably for 14, 15 years now. And every time I've went out, I've gotten better and better. I always and as a fisherman, you always want to set goals for yourself. Okay, this is what I want to do. Okay, I want to catch this fish. I want to use different types of stuff. I don't just want to fish with, a lot of guys are believers, well, okay, I'm going to throw a lure out there and I'm going to catch every fish in the lake. That's not seem to be true. I'm a firm believer in that if you're gonna catch anything in Lake Orion, live bait is the way to go. Use minnows. Use you use worms, leeches, crickets, things you would think people would use to even up north. But I would say if you live in Lake Orion, cheer up north. I live in a little cottage, and it makes me feel like I'm up north because I'm surrounded by lake. But my main home lake is Lake Orion. It's always going to be. Like I said, and it's great. It's great for kids. I've talked to a few people that live around the lake, and they're like, yeah, we see you all the time pulling your cart down 24. And I'm like, yep, that's me. I'm the fishing guy around here. If you got a question, just come to me and ask. Like I said, but any area on Lake Orion is beautiful. I mean, last year I got to take my boat out last year, and I went out, and I probably within 2 hours of being on Lake Orion, I've limited out on my bass. I mean, because they're just so plentiful with monster bass. You could take any part of the lake you want to go to, and you'll find spots where it's just loaded with bass. You could just like I'm going to go on this map again, and you could see all the way around Greens Park. It's like a big channel, and that channel will go out, and it will go out to like where this Pelton is connected, where it will go out this way to Pelton's Point. You could go over to the Parkway thing, but like I said, there's so many. Lake Orion is the most big. I mean, it's like the biggest lake I've been on in years, and I'll tell you, it is just fantastic. And that's why I keep telling people, it's not just a tubing lake. It's not just any sports lake. This lake used to be known for bass fishing tournaments, and I entered one my first year, just being on the. And the thing was, I wasn't even expecting to be in the tournament, and I won. I helped my partner, and I went out. First cast was over here. I think my first cast was like over here where there's a big branch in the water over here by where the marina is, coming out of the marina. 9.5 pound largemouth. So people don't understand is that lake, I guarantee you there's probably a state record fish and a bunch of state record different types of fish in Lake Orion. So when I do, like I say, when I do my shows, I always try to coordinate to, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I want to do to, better my chances, so people can see that I'm not blowing smoke up people. I'm telling you everything I do. I don't hide anything I do or what I'm using, what rod and reels. Because when you come down to if people come down to the park and see me, they're going to tell you, oh yeah, I've seen them use that reel. Oh yeah, I've seen them catch some big fish. I had a guy down yesterday when I was down at Greens when he saw me catch my 24-inch largemouth yesterday. And he couldn't believe the fish that I was pulling out. And he was like, what are you using? And I'm like, well, here, man, just try these. I gave him a couple and threw it out there, and he caught a couple bass. And he was like, this guy isn't joking. This guy knows what he's doing. And I'm like, and that's another thing I want to encourage too, is you parents have to get your kids involved. I mean, if I was started at 7 years old, if you want to get them involved in this 7 years old to 8 to 9 to 10, you want to get them started early. I would even say at the most 6 years old, because I had a 6-year-old kid, a little girl last year that when I did a fishing tournament, which you guys will probably get to see this year, because I'm going to be doing one in June sometime with all the teenage and the young kids. I had a 6-year-old little girl win a Zipco rod and reel, just like the one that's sitting on the table. She won it. She won the same exact reel. She caught a bluegill that was 13 and a half inches, and she won the tournament. And I was like, and I had her mom an hour later come to me and says, you know what? You turned my kid into a monster. I'm like, I did what? And she goes, you turned my little girl into a monster. Now all she wants to do is fish like you. Every time she come down to the park with her mom, she'd bring her fishing pole. Mr. Will, I want to fish today. Can I fish with you and use this? I want you to show me how to use my reel. And I'm like, okay. So I hook it up and throw it out there. Her mom sat down there a few times. But that's my goal. This is the reason I started this show. Get the kids involved. I'm a big advocate for kids because I want to see them do. You never know. We could have another Jimmy Houston on our hands. I mean, when they get older, you just never know when what's gonna happen. I mean, I'm not no Jimmy Houston, but hey, I could probably fish with the best of them. Bill Dance and all those guys. But like I'm showing you, these guys. That's one thing these guys do not do, is they do not go step by step to show you how to catch a fish. They'll tell you, oh yeah, I'm using this lure, but they don't always tell you the depths they're fishing. They don't always tell you what the forage is in the lake that they're fishing. Forage is everything to when there's fish. And not only that, but they don't tell you what, like I always explain, like cover, the depth I'm fishing, the strategies. These guys don't tell you everything because they don't want you to do what they're doing. They just want to show you what they're doing. I want you to be successful. I want you to be able to do what I'm doing and do it with a passion. That's the reason I started this whole thing, because I want to get it out there. I'm only showing my talent, but I want to share my talent so people can have the same talent and be like successful at whatever lake they want to fish. Well, as I always say, if you want to catch a big bass, or you want to catch, I've even caught crappie out of that lake that were monstrous. And one of my old bosses came down and said, because he sells a lot of bait too, but he was telling me, he was like, I got in this business. I don't know, what are you doing? What makes it work so well? And I'm like, well, you just got to know how to represent the bait. You got to know what depth these fish are sitting in. You want to know everything there is to know about this lake you're fishing. And a lot of times, local knowledge is everything. And when I first started down here, I didn't know anything until I really started, I started talking to a few people. But it's also about, fishing is always about experiment. You want to experiment with something, and if it works, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Stick with what works. And with me, that's what I've been doing. So that's why today, when everything I've used on this show works right. And now, I don't know if I mentioned, but like I said, on these, if you really want a good brand of fishing rod to use, I like to get, they're called Frugers. Bass Pro Shops. I always get mine from Bass Pro Shops. I don't like buying too much from anybody else. But you get a Fruger, and you get one that says 12-pound test on it, and I always use Trilene, because it's very good for casting, especially for these picky bass that don't like this. If they have a tendency when they bite, because their mouths are so big, that they don't suck in. If they feel that hook, they feel that line on that hook, they won't pick it up as fast. So you kind of, with them, you're finding more tricky. So that's why I use that long-lasting trilene. And like I said, I use those. I use these. You can. They're green night crawlers, and they work wonders for bass. I've noticed that this last year. You can throw a regular night crawler out there, and they'll just look at it like, okay, what's that? But the minute you put a green crawler on your line, I think it's because they put dye in them, and it makes them glow. So you jig them, the bass, the walleye. I've even caught pike. I mean, I caught a pike the other day at Pelton's that was probably about 22 inches, but it was because I was jigging the worm down in the hole where they could see it. So it's not saying that regular crawlers won't work, because they will. I mean, I'm just saying right now for me, it's been green crawlers. It's been, and the thing is, I'm not using the bobber like I am on the other pole. That bobber was just there for because I had a kid, and they're bluegill. They like catching them big old monster bluegills, which they're coming in too, which was really nice. But like I said, you could fish anywhere in this lake. I mean, like I said, you can go from Green Spark and go around. Now, some other people were saying too that I wanted to try that this year, which I'm going to take my boat out. Belleville Island. It's another place I've heard that's been really good. I haven't been out there yet. I want to get my boat out there, like I said. But if you really want, right now, if you really want to come to be in a place where the fish are, you got to come to Greens. It's worth every dime you spend down there. Like I said, I advertise this lake a lot. I talk about the park a lot, and like I said, I agree 100% when they say Greens Park is a jewel, because she is a jewel. She's a jewel that needs polished, and she is ready for this year, for the kids, for the fishing. So I'm hoping that I'll see a lot more people come down with fishing rods, maybe join me this year, so I'm not down there lonesome. But hopefully a lot of people, once they see this, they'll really get into this, and it would be worth your time. Like I said, that's my home base. That's where I fish. That's where I catch a lot of my fish. So hopefully I'll see you guys down there. Like I said, but definitely go try this out. It'll be worth the time. And like I said, right now, there's not as much fishing pressure with the bass boats right now either, because the guys are like, well, it's too cold. But this is the time of year where I flourish on this lake, and like I said, I probably pulled already 22 bass out of Lake Orion within the last 2 weeks, and it's only because the temperature's going up and down, and the fish are just now, they're hungry. You figure after months and months underneath ice and cold, and they're hungry. They're looking for that. They're looking for that springtime meal. And you got to figure, if the bluegill are coming in, the bass, the pike, the walleye are going to follow the forage, and wherever the forage is where you're going to catch your fish. So I'm going to end with this. I'm just going to say is, I hope to see everyone out there this year, and like I said, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me this year. I'm excited. If anybody has any questions, just look at Greens and you're going to find me, because that's my home base. That's where home is to me. That's my lake. That's where I'm going to catch a big fish. So just remember, when you're fishing with Will, you're going to catch the big ones.